Hi everyone, it's Denise from Denise Rich's Art and Design. I picked up this wooden tote at Goodwill for $1.50, and I also found these little glass jars that fit in there perfectly the same day for $1.50 as well. First, I remove all of the labels, and then I use a baby wipe to clean it off, which actually wiped off most of the white paint that was on there as well. The front panel is kind of a melamine type piece of wood, so I don't think there was any paint on it. I'm going to be painting this with Waverly chalk paint in the color Plaster. And because this wood is so light and it had already kind of been painted white, it only required one coat of paint. Now I'm going to use this French country label stencil that I got off of Amazon, and I'm going to use Waverly chalk paint in the color black and carefully stipple so that I don't get any bleed through under the stencil. Although chalk paint is very forgiving, so it's easy to go back and touch up the white paint if I were to get some bleed through. Anytime I add more paint to my brush, I offload it on the towel so that it's more of a dry brush technique. I'm using a fine grit sandpaper just to distress it a little bit so that it doesn't look like fresh paint. And now just a light spray of matte clear coat to finish it off. Here is one styling idea with flowers, but I just wanted to use it to pretty up my work table and store my paintbrushes and tools in a convenient spot. I got this cute little silver tray at Goodwill for only 75 cents. I am going to add some Waverly chalk paint in the color Plaster and Sandstone. And here I cannot get the lid off. So somewhere I learned that if you apply heat, this is my heat gun, that it loosens the paint and it comes right off, which is so true. I have been trying to remember to wear gloves when I paint because the cold weather and having to wash my hands so many times a day after painting, my hands are getting all chapped and cracked, and it's very frustrating. But as you'll see in the video, I'm not very consistent at putting the gloves on. I'm anxious to get started, and so I forget to put them on. I'm going to be painting the bottom first, and I will be using 2 coats of this chalk paint. Once it dries, I'll flip it over and I will do another coat of the Plaster chalk paint. And while this paint is drying, I'm going to be using some items I already had on hand. This was a necklace piece and some wooden beads that don't fit on this needle. So I am going to now wrap the end in Scotch tape and trim it really close. And now the jute will feed through the wooden beads without fraying. Later, this will be going onto a soap dispenser to identify it as hand soap rather than dish soap. Now I'm going to paint the center of the tray with the color sandstone. Now that I have the heart painted, I was trying everything to figure out how to tie a knot so this would lay flat. And eventually I figured it out. But here's the little necklace for the soap dispenser. Using my finger sander, I just wanted to distress the edges just a little bit and make it look a little worn. So here I thought I'd stop and show you the conditions I'm working in lately. I'm outside in my carport with no door, it's raining and about 40 degrees. The weather has been making it difficult to get anything finished. Here I am ready to put a sealing top coat on this tray since it will come in contact with water. But the polyacrylic that I wanted to use, which is a matte finish, needed to be 55 degrees or above and a well-ventilated area. I could not figure out how to use that product safely, so I ended up using this artist grade satin varnish. It's a little shinier than I wanted, but I think that the end product is still acceptable. And here it is on the kitchen counter, and the hand soap is marked with the heart charm. I picked up this cute little metal, I guess it's a toolbox, or maybe it's a money tray, I'm not sure, but I got it at Salvation Army for $2, and I thought it would make a good toolbox for my work table. I tried everything I could think of to get this permanent marker off, but I had no luck. It lightened up a little bit, but I'll just have to paint over it and hope it doesn't bleed through. I wanted to keep the handle and the latch as is, so I covered them with painter's tape. Since I'm a very messy painter, I knew I would not be able to keep them clean. I'm using this Waverly Snow White chalk paint as my base layer. I don't use this paint very often, so I thought this would be my primer. I really appreciate hearing from you, so please leave me a comment and let me know what types of makeovers you like best. So one coat of the white paint, and I chose not to do the inside or the bottom. And then I will be using folk art chalk paint in the color linen. And I did 2 coats of the linen paint. So while I was painting this box in the cold carport, all bundled up, it dawned on me that I have a guest room and I can move this work table into the guest room so that I can actually work where it's warm. So that's what I did that night. So here is the toolbox after the 2 coats of paint have dried, and I'm going to be removing the painter's tape and then applying some transfers from Amazon. These transfers are redesigned by Prima, the foliage collector set. Once you peel off the backing, get the placement just right before you actually touch it onto the surface because it will stick instantly. And then use the burnishing stick to burnish it down and keep pulling up the plastic to see if there's any pieces left on the plastic. Here I'm using the plastic backing to make sure everything is smoothed down and there's no air bubbles. And here I am trying to burnish this one down before taking the backing off. Don't do that. It took me a minute to figure out why it wasn't working. Now I'm going to be going over the box with a coat of clear finishing wax. That will seal all the paint, seal in the transfers, and then this project will be done. Here I'm using a microfiber cloth to wipe off the excess wax. I really love how this box turned out, and I think it's going to make a cute addition to my workspace. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.